All right. Good evening once again, everyone. Thank you so much for telling me how your day went. I enjoyed reading all of your comments. Sincerely, I enjoyed reading it, and awesome, Lola. Awesome. So thank you for letting me in on your day. So without much ado, I'm going to be introducing our mentor. Yes, he's no longer a guest to you, right? Because you met him yesterday and I read the comments yesterday. I was like, even me, that I'm not the one who did all those talking, like all those talk. I was having goosebumps when I was reading the comments in the group. So I'm just going to play a video. Let me know if you can see my screen. Let me know. Somebody can unmute and say, yes, I can see your screen.
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 Thank you. So I'm just going to play the intro video and then our mentor can come up for tonight's session. Okay.
Chimezie Nwabueze. Every meaningful transformation begins long before results appear. It begins in the invincible spaces, in our beliefs, our patterns, and the way we interpret the world around us. Guiding the Growth Mentorship Program 2026 cohort as a visiting mentor into these powerful inner territories is someone whose work revolves around helping people rise from the inside out. Chimezie Nwabueze is an emotional intelligence trainer and coach with half a decade of experience teaching, facilitating, and coaching individuals and groups to build emotional resilience and mental mastery. Certified by Mode Africa Training Institute, he specializes in emotional intelligence and mind mastery practices that empower people to navigate life with clarity, emotional strength, and self-awareness. Over the course of 6 years working with Mode Africa, Kankata Consulting, and now Emovora Initiatives, he has led transformative projects across Nigeria and Kenya, focusing on the mentorship and empowerment of teenagers, young people, and families. Through these initiatives, he has trained and coached over 100 mentors, amplifying his impact through others. Chimezie's work as a consultant, coach, and trainer has refined his gift as both an impactful teacher and a transformational guide. His coaching experience spans multiple industries and levels of organizational leadership, helping people build the emotional and mental resilience needed to thrive. He is a visionary behind the Manifest Tribe, a community that empowers individuals to design visionary lives, create productivity systems, and take decisive steps towards their highest potentials. His passion for innovation also led to the launch of the Manifest app, also known as Better, a bespoke productivity platform designed to support intentional living. Deeply passionate about human capital development, especially the holistic empowerment of men, Chimezie founded the Man Academy in 2023. The Academy creates a safe space for men to embrace vulnerability, growth, healing, and wholeness, guided by both their personal journeys and professional training. His belief in lifelong learning and improvement has helped him build capacity across industries. As a digital solution expert, he helps brands and businesses leverage technology for efficiency and growth. He is completing a master's degree in Management Information Systems at Cyprus International University, CIU, building on earlier studies in managerial psychology. At the GMP 2026 cohort, Chimezie will mentor our students on the growth mindset. This season digs deep into the beliefs and shape our resilience, creativity, and potential. He will guide participants in shifting from a fixed perspective to a growth-oriented one, turning challenges into catalysts, opening new doors of possibility, and elevating the way we learn, lead, and evolve. This is a transformational exploration of how the mindset shapes destiny and how anyone can begin rewriting the script from within. Growth begins with a decision. The decision to evolve. Visit our website today at https://nichub.org/program/GMP 2026 to register for the Growth Mindset Program 2026 cohort. Learn from transformational leaders like Chimezie Nwabueze and step boldly into a mindset that unlocks your future.
Wow. I hope you heard everything. So without much ado, we are going to call up our mentor, Mr. Chimezie Nwabueze, to take up the podium. With a clapping ovation, can we please bring him on board? Clapping ovation, guys. I cannot see the clap, so thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. If you really want to enjoy him more than yesterday, I need your claps to be overwhelming. Yes, because me, I'm ready. Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
Pass to you, sir.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to start this session by honestly saying thank you. I know that in the line of our work, it's easy to, it's easy to expect to come up and go through these sessions and deliver and all of that as an expectation. But one of my greatest joys when I come into sessions like this is to see people who are really eager and excited to learn. And the energy you guys brought yesterday was amazing. And yes, I saw some of your feedback. Thank you so much, Taiwo, for sharing some of the feedback with me. That was it was a blessing to me. See, there's something that happens when someone like me delivers a session and I get feedback and hear that it is really doing some work in the life of people. It is such a blessing to me. So thank you, everyone. And let us show up today again with that same energy. Let's continue that today, right? So welcome to today's session. It's my honor to be here. I can see Juliet, Faye, Sunday, Favor. We are 68 of us here right now. Okay, that's good. If there's anyone who's not here yet, you can tell them to come in. Like I said, today is going to be a combination of teaching, and we're going to be doing some hands-on work today. Everyone, we're going to be doing some hands-on work. We're going to start going into our mindsets, every one of us. All right, we laid some foundation yesterday, and today we're actually going to each person take a journey into yourself. Now, before I start with that, we had some assignments from yesterday, and we're going to be picking up from there. One more thing to, I was listening to the introduction, and sometimes in the course of all that we do, we sometimes consciously, sometimes unconsciously, we disregard or don't really appreciate how much we've done and how much impact we've been able to make. And just listening to that, as you were reading that, I was like, oh, that's me. That's interesting. All right. I appreciate that, the effort to put that together. I want to use this opportunity to say thank you to every one of you who is part of the NICOB Capacity Development Center, from Taiwo, who has been an ever-present and consistent reminder, to Damilola and every other person. Guys, can we just go into the chats and just say a big thank you to the team? it takes devotion, commitment, and loyalty also to do this kind of work. And I speak from experience, having worked under one of the best minds as it has to do with emotional intelligence and mind mastery in Africa. I've worked with him for years and having built, basically, practically built different product services and businesses with him. I know how much dedication it takes to commit yourself to another man's dream and take it as your own and ensure the success of it. All right. So let's just say big thank you to these guys. I know I only know Damilola and Taiwo by name, but I know there's a whole lot of people in the team, and we're just saying thank you to every one of them. All right. Sorry. All right. Thank you, guys. Now let's go into today. Oh, one more thing. I noticed that yesterday and today. I know it's based on the last profile I gave you guys. I'm not still doing my master's program in management information systems. I wrapped that up early last year or late 2 years ago. All right, so we're done with that chapter a long time ago and picked up other things along the way. All right, I just wanted to point that out, but I thank you guys for the profile. So today we're going to go straight into what we have for today. I'm going to start with the assignments I gave on cognitive dissonance. And I'm going to give Damilola the opportunity to randomly pick two persons, one lady and one gentleman. Whoever you pick is going to have a minute to share with us what they learned, what they were able to find out or discover concerning cognitive dissonance. I see Lola's hand is raised. Lola, will come to you. Thank you for raising your hand. We'll come to you, but I want us to take people by surprise.
Yes.
We're going to be examining growth mindset now too. So, Lola, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir. Okay, randomly, just be praying that I don't call you. Randomly, okay. Juliet Daniel. Juliet Daniel. Should I call the two people at the same time or after
No.
Juliet?
Let's make it, because if you call the second person, the person will have time to prepare. That would be
Yes,
unfair to
okay.
Juliet. So let's start with Juliet.
Juliet.
Juliet, over to you. You have 1 minute. Can you share with us what you found out about cognitive dissonance? Juliet, over to you. Yeah, you say you knew it, so that means you're prepared for us. We're waiting.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay, so thank you very much, sir, for giving me the opportunity to talk about this. My name is Juliet Daniel. So I checked it up. That was very busy today, but I checked it up and I found out that it means, sorry, my voice, I have cold. Trying to arrange my thought. It's like an uncomfortable feeling you get inside you when your actions don't match what you believe is right. Like sometimes let me use myself as an example. There are sometimes I make like positive affirmations like I'm rich. Like I have this very crazy imagination. I can say I'm a billionaire, something like that. And I don't know, my actions, I know that my actions does not even take me to that place. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm in line with what it means, but that was what I got from what I read.
All right. Yeah, that's good. Sorry. You're very much in line. Thank you for that, Juliet. Before I make any comments, thank you, by the way. Thank you very much for that. Before I make any comments, let's get to the second person. Thank you so much, Juliet.
Okay. So while Juliet was talking, I was looking at the participants. So Babatunde Egunjobi, you're my
All right.
second person.
Babatunde, over to you, sir.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yes, my name is Babatunde Gunjobi, and I'm really happy to share the little things I learned about this cognitive dissonance. Yeah, during my study, I discovered that it is a mental discomfort that one has when you have two conflicting beliefs, when your action is not actually going in line with your belief. So, for an example, let's assume you plan that you want to save a lot of money, but in the course of saving a lot of money, you have other challenges to attend to. Maybe you have something that's very urgent that you need to attend to it. So when your plan is that you want to save money, but now your action is spending money out. So you can see that the two things they are going opposite to each other. So, but when they now ask one that, okay, why are you not saving up? We have this thing, we have this excuse to give that it's because I need this money urgent. That's why I'm not saving up this money again. So we can see that that thing is what they are actually contradicting one another. So you have this kind of conflict going up in your mind that I'm not doing what I wanted to do, that I'm doing against what I plan to do. So you will not be really comfortable with your action in that instances. That's one of the things I've learned, sir.
All right. Thank you so much, Babatunde. Sorry. Thank you so much for that contribution, Juliet and Babatunde. Now, before I wrap the whole contributions on cognitive dissonance, Lola was raising her hand. I'm trusting it's a her, right? Lola Owolabi. I hope I'm pronouncing the name properly. My wife teases me sometimes that I get the intonation wrong for Yoruba names. So, Lola, I'll give you 1 minute to share
You're,
with us.
oh, you're right with my name, sir.
Oh,
How are
thank
you?
you. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Okay, from my research, basically, Juliet and Baba today are like giving the full view about cognitive dissonance. But there's something interesting I found out about it is that if you don't have a it's just like a cognizant dissonance is just like a signal that it gives you when you are not when your values and your actions are not going, so it's now left for you to decide if you are to um observe and make changes towards that discomfort you have, or you're just to find excuse to just leave it. So that's to make maybe a good change to adjust based on that discomfort and mental tension you have. You just have to probably, that means you have a growth, is it? Yes, a growth intention, I be a good intention about your growth, something like that. So that's something that really like trigged me when I was
All
researching
right.
about it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Lola. 1 moment, guys. Sorry. All right. So thank you, Juliet. Thank you, Babatunde. Thank you, Lola. You guys have done a very good job um, with giving us an understanding of what cognitive dissonance is. I'm going to just try to summarize it quickly with some practical examples. I like to think of ways to strip things down in a way that we can relate and in a way that can stick in our minds. So I'm often prone to looking for analogies or examples, representations, because analogies create images in our minds. We think with pictures. Everybody thinks with pictures. And we're going to come to that when we look at how to challenge negative thoughts and build um, new growth mindsets. To touch on an answer to part of the question that was asked yesterday. All right. Now, how many of you have in your adult life? I'm talking as children, because as children, it seemed like it came by default with children to wear their shoes or slippers on the wrong foot. But how many of you have, as an adult, you're rushing out, you're trying to prepare and meet up, whether transport or something, and you wear your shoes in the wrong foot, like your right shoe on your left and your left shoe on your right. How many of us have ever had that kind of experience? Or maybe your slippers at home. You're trying to put in your slippers and you wear the right one on the left and the left one on the right. It feels off. It feels off when you try to do that, because your right leg seamlessly fits into your right shoes because the mold of the shoe has been created with the orientation of the right leg, and same with the left leg. So when you find yourself trying to wear your shoe, as I'm talking to you right now, I'm doing that with my with my slippers here, and it feels off automatically, naturally, because the leg is supposed to fit into the mold of the slippers naturally. And when it doesn't fit into that mold naturally, it sends an uncomfortable signal to your body that something is not right, something doesn't fit well. Cognitive dissonance is like that for the mind. And all three persons who spoke now have given us very wonderful explanations. Just to wrap it up, cognitive dissonance is the discomfort that our mind feels when our beliefs, our values, our affirmations, whatever it is, our internal processing of ourselves and the world around us does not match with the actions we are consistently engaging in. All right. With the financial example that Babatunde gave, he was right with the definition, but the explanation didn't exactly land properly. And I'll explain to us why. You gave the example of trying to save, but things come up and you have to spend on that. Sometimes that could be as a result of changing priority and necessities. But what will constitute cognitive dissonance there would be saying that I am prudent financially and I know how to handle money. But then when money comes into my hand, I have the option of making savings or investment, but I find myself spending it impulsively on things. So every time I say that I am prudent with my finances, there is a discomfort in my mind. My mind will be fighting with me, like you're really prudent. Have you seen your spending habits? Is that prudence? Do you remember that shoe you went to buy, and that's like your 18th shoe the last 3 years or last 3 months, and you didn't really need it, but it looked nice. Is that really prudence financially? Do you understand? Lola is mine. Looks like Lola buys a lot of shoes. All right, so that is now that the internal dialogue is challenging and fighting the external expressions. That's cognitive dissonance. And oftentimes, when we find ourselves faced with cognitive dissonance, we can do either of three things. Number one, we can change belief. That is, we can change the internal dialogue. Sorry. What that means is that, remember that oftentimes in cognitive dissonance, our internal belief is warring against our external actions and behavior. And so sometimes, in a bid to resolve that discomfort, our mind would find ways to, will begin to channel thoughts and ways to change the belief. So, for example, if I say that smoking isn't that bad, or rather, if I say that smoking is a bad thing, but I smoke, all right, and when I'm professing or confessing or saying to someone that smoking is bad, it's dangerous to your health, but I'm a habitual smoker, there's cognitive dissonance happening because I'm saying to someone or affirming to someone something that contradicts my behavior. All right. Thank you, John. The internal belief that smoking is unhealthy, but the external action is that I'm actively smoking. So one way that my mind could choose to or suggest ways for me to resolve it would be to change the belief. Since I smoke, I could begin to justify why maybe it's not that bad. Maybe it's just a medical propaganda. I mean, I've seen people who have lived 90 years, 80 years, even though they were smokers. And I've seen people who were not smoking that died at 20 something. How many of us have heard that justification? All right. And so I begin to communicate to my mind a justification to help resolve that dissonance by changing belief. Another way would be that I would seek to change behavior, which is oftentimes, especially if the behavior is unhealthy and unhelpful, the choice to then change behavior in this case would often constitute some form of process of growth mindsets, choosing what is expedient or choosing what is necessary or what is comfortable, right? So if I say smoking is harmful, but I'm smoking, another way I could resolve it to be to tell myself, if smoking is harmful, then I really should stop smoking. I know it's going to be uncomfortable. I know it may be an uphill battle, but I need to stop smoking. In other words, I'm valuing the internal belief over the external action. And so I'm choosing to now go to war against the external action to ensure that the action then begins to conform to my internal belief, right? The other person chooses to go to war against the internal belief to maintain behavior, because changing behavior is one of the hardest things for human beings to do, right? But this person chooses instead to change behavior and hold on to the belief. Okay, I'm seeing some questions coming up. All right. And the third way that we can go about it would be to justify behavior, similar to changing belief. But this one would be basically to try and find alternative reasons and suggestions to the behavior. For example, if I say smoking is bad and I'm smoking, I may still want to hold on to the belief that smoking is bad. But to soft pedal the battle of having to go and fight against my destiny, I can say, well, I know it's bad, but I mean, my grandfather smoked and he lived to 70 years old. I mean, there are people who have survived it. There are people who have survived it. Maybe it's genetics. There are people who their genetics is very strong, you know. And even though smoking is bad, based on your genetics, you could live longer than some other persons. Maybe someone like me, I have that genetics. You know, I could say, well, life is short anyway. I mean, I know smoking is bad, but something must kill a man. Well, whenever the time comes, it is. Whenever it is time, it is time. Justification. All right. So Mary is asking the second. So I said three ways we can seek to resolve cognitive dissonances. One, we change belief. Two, we change behavior. Or three, we justify behavior. Those are the three ways. All right. Now, everything that we've talked about, this cognitive dissonance, is going to actually come into play with part of what we're going to be in today's class. But before we go in there, let me step back a bit. Thank you so much, Taiwo, for the reminder. I had that already pending in my notes here. So let's step back for a moment. And for the next, this is 9:28 for me. I believe it's about 8:28 for you guys. For the next 10 to 12 minutes, let's look at the concept of reality. This is very important. This is based on the question yesterday where someone asked that what is the difference between a positive mindset and a realistic mindset? And I said it depends on what you call reality. So let's come back to the concept of reality. What is real and what is not real? Psychologically speaking, the mind struggles to differentiate between a tangible experience and an imagined experience, because to the mind, both are real. And this is one of the reasons why words are very powerful and we must wield our words with power. So I'm going to start from the standpoint of words and how it creates images and the power of images. And then we'll go into the concept of reality. And we'll begin to see how that's in scriptures. When scripture talks about guard your heart with all diligence, and then scripture talks about life and death are in the power of the tongue, we'll see that those two things are actually scriptures that work in concert. So let's start with the power of the words. How does the mind operate? The mind operates with pictures. It is the reason why the word for the process of conceiving something in the mind is imagination, which literally means image making. Imagination. If you go and look at the etymology of the word, you see it usually means image making. So there is no thought that ever comes to your mind that is not processed in images. I'll give you an example. And in giving this example, before I give the example, let me start by saying that in instructing your mind, do not use negations, do not use negatives in instructing your mind, because the operational word that you use to instruct your mind is the picture that the mind will create. I'm going to give us an exercise. We're going to do an exercise right now, every one of us, and then we'll pick up from there. For the next 15 seconds, do all you can. Do everything you can with all of your might and strength and all the discipline you have for the next 15 seconds to not think of an elephant. Do everything you can, as much as you can. Don't think of an elephant. Don't think of an elephant. Do not think of an elephant. That's the instruction. Don't think of an elephant. Now, please go to the chat room, everyone, and in all sincerity, tell me the thought that was going through your mind. I can see all the responses in the chat room. So I can see some people, some of us have already started giving the elephants different, beautifying the elephants and all of that, you know. I'm seeing all that, big elephants, capital elephants. I had to hold my breath. I was thinking of my drugs at the pharmacy. A good stuff. Okay. All right. So beautiful. I want you to notice whether you started replacing the thought with something else. Once I was thinking of how to connect my earpod with the call, I created a distraction. Beautiful. But I want you now, a second question, and I want you to go to the comment section. When I started saying, don't think of an elephant, even in trying to create the distraction, was there at any point in time where the thought of an elephant came to your mind? Like, I shouldn't think of an elephant, so let me think of this. I shouldn't think of an elephant, so let me think of this. Let me think of a lion. Let me think of a charger. Let me think of, I shouldn't think of an elephant. Did it ever cross your mind at any point in time? Exactly. So even in the mental energy, tries to instruct yourself to say, okay, I shouldn't think of what? An elephant. So if you want to completely eliminate something from the consciousness of your mind or from the operational system of your mind, don't use that thing as the operational word in instructing your mind, because your mind would work with the words you give to it. Okay, somebody said even the spelling was in my head. All right, now that's one. Two, the way the mind works, it works with images, and oftentimes, if it has come in contact with an image of the instruction beforehand, that could become, or that would become, the model by which it creates the image of that thing. Let me give you an example. Let's do another quick exercise. Another quick exercise. For the next 10 to 15 seconds, I want you to think of the flower vase in my sitting room. There's a flower vase in my sitting room. Beautiful flower vase. I want you to think about it. Think of all the details you can about it, the flower vase in my sitting room. It's a very beautiful flower vase. I'm looking at it. All right, can someone go into the chat room and tell me, what does it look like? What does it look like? I'm asking what it looks like, and I'm already getting the question. Is it white? All right, so what does it look like, people? That's the question. I'm the one asking the question. Say very colorful flower. Okay, it's white in color, and the flowers in it is yellow and short. Fikila said nothing came to mind. Beautiful roses. Okay. Interestingly, there are no roses in the flower vase. Interestingly, there's no white in the vase. All right. All right. Now, here's the question. Why are you guys struggling to imagine it? You're making guesses at best, but why are you struggling to imagine it? I instructed your mind with something that it has no concept of yet. The only concept it has is that I said that it's a flower vase. So now some of you are giving me descriptions, and some of those descriptions are already memory files in your own mind of either things you've thought or imagined about a flower vase, or flower vases you've come in contact with, or flower vases, the type of flower vases that you like. But none of the descriptions I see here captures my flower vase. My flower vase is a black flower vase here. It has a beautiful bouquet of um, pink, green, and a hue of orange. I can't remember the specific color. My wife knows how to give call the different specific colors of these things. You know, women know colors a lot. All right. So, but it has this difference. It's like a gradient of of colors from pink, segues into orange, and then there's green and all of that. Anyways, all right. Now, because you had no previous record of it, you couldn't create an accurate image of it. So, the image you started creating was an image of your own making that is not the flower base I gave you, or I said you should describe. Two very instructive things from there, that our minds cannot conceive of any instruction that it has no reference to. One of the most magnificent miracles of the creation, of God's creation, is that, you know, we sing it in some songs sometimes, that he made the earth without a reference. There was no reference. He wasn't copying from anywhere, right? Because naturally the mind of man would hold on to a reference to create something, any level of reference at all to create something. And that's one of the reasons why creating something you're disrupting a space can be often daunting, because you literally have to create afresh without a template, which means that if there's no reference to what you're creating, you are birthing a new reality. And I'm going back to the concept of reality. So back to what I was saying earlier, that the mind cannot, it struggles to differentiate between tangible experiences or expressions and imagined expressions or experiences. One of the reasons why, the example I gave us yesterday, when Jesus Christ was talking about lust, and he says that's the new command he's giving, but it's the new covenant now. In the new covenant and new command, that if you as much as just lustfully desire a woman, you've committed fornication, which then means that what he's saying is that the imagination of the act creates a real consequence as much as the tangible expression of the act. Because thoughts and imaginations are real, they are just not yet tangible. And yesterday I talked about the fact that when we understand that, we begin to see, when it says faith is the evidence of things hoped for, the conviction of things not yet seen. It is a conviction of things not yet tangibly seen, but they are things nonetheless because they are real. We understand what I'm trying to say. I'll give us a question and I want you to answer the question. Where the chairs and the tables that are in your rooms or your house right now, what was it made out of? What was it made out of? The chairs and the tables in your house right now, what was it made out of? wood, tree, beautiful. Beautiful, from wood. Now, the question I would want to ask is, as we're answering wood, the chair, did it come before the wood, or did the wood come before the chair? Think very carefully. The chair, did it come before the wood, or the wood before the chair? The wood came before the chair. All right. Now, the second question I'm asking, before the chair was crafted and made, as the lumber company is cutting it down, about to send it to the furniture shop or wherever it was going to be used, at that point where the wood arrives at the carpenter's place or at the furniture maker's place, and the furniture maker looks at the wood and they go, I'm going to use this one to make this and this chair, I'm going to use this one to make this and this table. At that point, and he has a model of the table and the chair he wants to make, does that chair and table yet exist at that time? Follow my thoughts? Does the chair and the table exist at that point? I'm not going to say anything yet until I see your hand. Okay. Okay, I'm saying no, no, yes in his mind, it does in his mind. No, in reality, yes in his thoughts. All right. Okay. Not in a tangible sense, but it exists in his mind. Okay. So, every one of us who said no, it didn't exist. Why did you say no, it didn't exist? Why doesn't it exist? Remember, I said there was a model of the chair. It means the carpenter had already conceptualized the chair they want to build, but it's just a piece of wood. No evidence or proof. Thank you for that statement, no evidence or proof, because I'm going to pick up on that. So you say no because no evidence or proof. In other words, you've not seen it tangibly. So it then means that if we go with that thinking, that logic, faith is a lie. The concept of faith is a lie. Because you do realize that what keeps us, let me give you an example. Nick started Nick Hub when? What year did he start, Mr. Nick? What year did he start?
2019.
2019. Beautiful. And he had a vision, a plan of what he wanted the help to do. The vision has been upgraded over time and all. I could make a guess that right now there's an idea in Nick's head about what Nick Hub should have accomplished by the end of the year or should be doing by the end of the year. And, the impact that the hub should be having. And we can lay that as a plan, as a model. All right? Now, if by the end of this year, all those plans come into tangible expression, would that be the first time that outcome or that result existed? Follow my thoughts. If at the end of the year, the plan, the idea, the vision that has already been set comes into tangible expression, would that be the first time that outcome exists? It wouldn't be. Why? Because it existed first as a thought and an idea. Now, the challenge we have in the conceptualizing of reality is that we often think that if it is still an idea, it is not real yet. And that in itself is a mindset challenge that would mean that we can easily step back at the slightest challenge. Let me give you an example again. I like to use scripture a lot of the times. Isaiah chapter 61. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, for he has anointed me to speak the gospel to the brokenhearted, and all of them that were written was written during Isaiah's time. It was a prophecy concerning Jesus. I know we are appropriated to ourselves in the Christian faith, and rightfully so. Right. Isaiah 61 from verse 1 down to, I think, practically the first 10, 11 and beyond. Right. Now, that was given in the book of Isaiah. Jesus Christ comes into existence. Yeah, and then scripture says he went into the synagogue, picked up the scroll, and started reading and said, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me." And after he finished reading it, and he now said, "Herein is this scripture fulfilled before your eyes." Now, at that time that Jesus Christ was in existence and fulfilling what was written, was it the first time that was in existence? No. It had already been spoken forth as a word that was in existence. And Jesus Christ coming in to fulfill it was now the tangible expression of it. John chapter 1, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was with God, and he was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him. Without him was not anything made that was made. So the Word was in the beginning, existed, real, but it didn't have tangible flesh expression until Jesus Christ came and embodied the Word. So if we begin to think of reality only as things that have found tangible expression, it will create a mental block in how we pursue things. Because when we say faith, we think of faith as abstract. It is the evidence of things hoped for. Can you pause for a moment and think about that? We are not saying that faith is an abstract feeling of things hoped for. We are saying that it is the evidence of things hoped for, the conviction of things that have not found tangible expression. It means that the moment the idea and the word comes, having faith is saying, I am moving in the direction of this thought and idea because I know it is going to find tangible expression. So the thought and idea in itself is a real force that is now driving every action I am taking to bring tangible expression to it.
Where can I put my bag? Can I bring it inside?
Mr. Nick, you're muted. All right. So it means that I've lost my train of thought. Okay, yeah. It means that the word, was it the word I was talking about? Yeah, okay. It means that the thing, that the idea or the thoughts that comes into effect by which I now begin to take action is a real force that I can align with so that the tangible expression of that thought can be manifested. So if I carry that consciousness, I would know, for example, that every thought and idea that I allow to settle into my heart and begin to nurture carries in itself a life force that can then materialize that into tangibility. That is the reason why in that Genesis chapter 11, verse 6, God himself, speaking about men, he said, for nothing shall be withheld from them which they imagine in their hearts to do, because the mind is a creative force. It is God himself that puts that in man. So God knew what he was saying when he said that. Genesis chapter 1, in the beginning, God made the heavens and the earth. And the earth was without form or void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. Question, did the light come into existence after God said it or when God said it? Because as he said, let there be light, the idea, the logos he had, carried the life force that manifested the light. And he said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters. and let it separate the waters that are above in the heavens and the waters that are beneath on the earth. And it was so. Question: were the waters real only after God had spoken it, or when God conceived it? You see, when we begin to change our perception of reality, the way we pursue things will change, or the confidence and the boldness with which we step into the fulfillment of even the prophecies and the instructions that we receive will begin to change. So when it is conceived, it is real. Question: a baby that is born after 9 months, are they real after the delivery, or were they real 1 month into the pregnancy when every other person had not seen the baby? Any thoughts on that? You know, when, let's not even go into 1 month, 2 weeks into the pregnancy, when the pregnancy is confirmed, is that baby real or not? The baby is real. It is just undergoing maturation, but conception has happened. It means that at the moment of conception, everything is real. If you're writing, write that down. That at the moment of conception, everything is real. And guess the basic building block for conception in our mind? Thoughts. So what is the difference between realistic thoughts and positive thoughts or good mindset, whatever we want to say? Basically nothing, depending on the frame you're judging it from. At the moment of conception, everything is real. Now, it means that when we get instructions, I know this is a growth mindset session, and I'm using a lot of Bible examples, but I believe we all can relate to this, and because this is life force we're talking about. It means that when you get instructions from God or a prophecy that is true, at the moment of conception, that prophecy is real. And if by our mindset and by our way of living, we then terminate the manifestation of that thing, we have terminated a real thing. We have terminated a possible reality that was conceived. But by our actions and our misalignments, we have terminated it. So it doesn't mean that thing was never real. It only means that we somehow, consciously or unconsciously, terminated that reality. So once we understand that at the moment of conception, everything is real, the way we apprehend or the way we approach the concept of reality changes entirely. Changes entirely. Changes entirely. Here's the thing. Some of us may have met Nick for the first time now. Some people met in 2019, 2020, 2018, 2017, and all of that. The version of Nick that you're experiencing now was not the version that was experienced 2019 or 2016 and all. But the idea of this kind of person that he is today was conceived long before today. And at the conception of that idea, he began to order his life in line with that reality, so that the tangible expression of that idea came into manifestation. But the reality of that idea it was not born today or this year. It was real those years ago. That's the very concept. One of the reasons I'm glad when we spend time to teach on things like this is because once we are able to lay the internal foundations, the external become easy. You see, I teach growth systems and productivity systems, all the vision boards and everything. If we don't understand this idea of reality, we will not really understand the fullness of the power of things like having a vision board. Because the very concept of vision board is now that there's a reality I have crafted, and I'm setting it ever before me to remind my heart that this reality is waiting. This reality is waiting. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? This reality is written, and once my mind conceives that reality, I can then, through the codification of my words, begin to reinforce images in my heart on an ongoing basis to ensure that I'm creating Psalm 84, verse 4. I'm creating highways that mean that I eventually will arrive at that Zion. So the words that we speak become codes of instruction to uphold and continue to sustain that reality until it finds tangible expression. So we need to change the way we perceive reality. We need to change it. The way we perceive reality, we need to change it. We need to change it. All right? So there is, essentially speaking, no difference between realistic thoughts and positive thoughts. Realistic thoughts is every reality that your heart can lay hold on. And the direction of that, sorry, that realistic thoughts could be negative or positive. But I plead with you, choose life that you may live. Do you understand? Choose life that you may live. All right. So having said that, let me run through a very quick 1 minute recap of everything that we said yesterday, or the core idea that we had from yesterday, and then we'll begin to build on that today, because I want in the next 8 minutes to start the first set of workshop, as it were, where all of us are going to do work for ourselves today. All right. So from yesterday, we established that our mindset is the lens through which we perceive reality. That reality could be the same, but the lens could be different. And if the lens is different, the stories we draw from reality will be different, and essentially the outcomes will be different. All right? So that is established, and everyone has a mindset. Whether it is positive or negative, everyone has a mindset. And based on the lens of our mindset, we interpret reality. And mindsets are formed and reinforced over time by the stories that we feed it. All right. So having established all of this, today, I'm going to start with looking at the process of the formation of mindsets. And I'm going to start with saying something I said yesterday, that the true test of our mindset is seen under pressure, in chaos. That is when the test of our mindset is seen. And for us to understand that, like I said, we need to understand the power of the stories and the words we tell ourselves. So I'm going to show us something I call, it's a very simple flowchart. It's a very simple series of lessons. I call it like the mindset cycle. Let me see if I can pull up this particular tab on my laptop. And I'm going to make it a full presentation. Okay, so share. Can I be given permission to share a slide? Because I want to stay there for a while. I want to stay there for a while. Okay, this is on my calendar.
Allowed, sir.
All right, thank you so much. Good. Good. All right, so let me put it on presentation mode. And I want us to look at this very simple diagram, very simple flowchart, very simple process. But remember this process, the mindset cycle. I gave it like a 5-step flowchart to make it easier. There are different models around it, right? I just simplified it with this, so it's easier for us to understand. Now, mindsets are formed over time, primarily by the interpretation of the experiences that we face in life, or the cultures that we are exposed, or better put, by the effects or influence of culture and social experiences on our personal experiences, and how we interpret those effects. That forms our mindset. Because what happens is that when we go through those experiences and color those experiences with an interpretation, they begin to form a belief by which we behave. And our behaviors ultimately would lead to the outcomes of our life. See, life doesn't give you what you wish for. Let me even be a bit more touchy. Life doesn't necessarily give you what you pray for. I decided to pause a bit on that because that is a very touchy statement for Christians. Life doesn't necessarily give you what you pray for. It doesn't mean that prayer is not important or powerful. But ultimately, the outcomes of your life would be dependent on the setting of your heart. So, with all of the powers and all of the effects of prayer and all of that, one of the most foundational, one of the most important benefits of prayer is actually at the avenue for transformation. And that kind of prayer is not the kind of prayer where you're going in for the sake of exercising yourself and coming to tell people that you've prayed for 12 hours without taking time to actually get instructions. See, one of the most beautiful ways God answers prayers is by giving you instructions anytime you go into the place of prayer. And if you don't open your mind and your heart to receive the instructions, sometimes there is an instruction that is the door to the thing you're praying for. And sometimes those instructions will require you to then get into a new way of thinking or a new way of behaving. But back to this loop. We have an experience, I interpret it one way, and based on that interpretation, I'm beginning to form the foundations of a belief. And based on the deep roots of that belief, I will behave in a certain way, and my behaviors will ultimately inform the outcomes of my life. Now, note that you cannot blame the outcomes of your life on experience, because between experience and outcome is what? These three layers of interpretation, belief, and behavior. So it means that regardless of the experience, if I want to change the outcome, I need to look at interpretation, belief, and behavior and ask myself, how can I change here? If this area remains the same, this would be a predictable outcome. If this area, interpretation, belief, and behavior remains the same, the outcome will be predictably the same. Until I change this area, regardless of this, the starting point. Why this is important for us to understand is simple. That some of the experiences of our lives are outside of our control. Some of the predispositions of our life are outside of our control. The family you're born into, the country you were born into, the extended family you're born into, the culture you were born into, the opportunities you had growing up as a child, and all of that. Those experiences, a lot of them are outside of your control. And depending on your financial status and your current estate in life, as it were right now, where you are living and the kind of people around it may be currently and presently outside of your control. So the experiences you will get based on your environment could be outside of your control. But believe it or not, the interpretation, the belief, and the behavior you then exhibit are matters of choice that you can change. You can change. You can change them. You can choose to begin to change your interpretation. You can choose to begin to change your belief. You can choose to begin to change your behavior. But you can't jump into changing behavior sustainably if you have not dealt with interpretation and belief. It will not be sustainable. You might pretend for a while, you might put up with it to impress somebody for a while, but eventually you will fall back to default because interpretation and belief have not been changed. So if I want to upgrade or update my mindsets and begin to get new outcomes, I must first stand aside from blaming the experiences and circumstances, because even ahead of you, the experiences and circumstances written ahead of you, that are outside of your control. So I must ask myself, how can I take control of this loop here? Book recommendation, if you can. I'm not saying you should read it immediately, but book recommendation. I recommend this book anytime I teach mindsets of late. If you can, search for the book Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Read it. Read it voraciously, read it hungrily, read it with every intention. Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. It will do a lot of things to your mindset, to the way you see life and the way you respond to life. Because oftentimes the things that come our way, or the circumstances and situations that we face, may not be in our control, but we always have the agency, the choice, the decision to make how we respond to it. And if we must change our behavior, we must go to confront interpretations and beliefs. The title of the book is Man's Search for Meaning. The author is Viktor Frankl. Frankl, Frankl, Viktor Frankl. All right. Now, let me stop sharing so you can see my face again. Now, building on this. Okay. Building on this, let's explore each of this in a very short time and then go into our exercise. The step one in that loop is experience. And experience is the things that happen to us. You fail an exam, you get rejected. Someone criticizes you, someone insults you, someone disregards your compliment, someone betrays you, someone you thought was your friend talks you down and denies you. Experiences, things happen. And this part is like it's an undeniable truth and experience in life. It's going to happen. Experiences will happen, some in your control, some not in your control. But the next loop then is the interpretation you give it. Now, that situation that happens, what is the story your mind is telling you concerning that? And how does that story trace back to you? What is the story you're telling yourself of yourself concerning that situation? What does this mean? Your mind is asking. Your mind begins to search through, what does this mean? And the only resources your mind would work with would be based on what has been codified in your mind through words, through societal exposure, through cultural interpretations and all of that. Whatever has been codified into your mind will become the lens with which it will begin to seek interpretation for what has happened. So, for example, for the person that gets rejected or gets a denial for something they applied for, one interpretation could be, like we said yesterday, that I'm not good enough. Another interpretation could be that I need more practice, I need to improve and all of that. Another interpretation could be that they don't like me. Another interpretation could be that this Nigeria, I said it, you would never be able to get anything fairly. It's only through connections. It's only through connection. That becomes an interpretation, a story you're telling yourself. And what happens is, based on that story you've told yourself, you're forming beliefs. And you may not realize the extent of that belief until an opportunity comes and you begin to ask yourself, what's the point of applying? Maybe you've applied 4 or 5 times, you've gotten rejected, and a new opportunity comes. And what's the point of applying? They will still go and give it to people that they want to give it to. Interpretation, belief. And so because of that belief, they will still give it to whoever they want to give it to. What do you think will be your action in response to the opportunity? There's no point wasting my time. So the action, the behavior then becomes indifference and apathy to opportunities. It becomes being negative-minded concerning opportunities. You don't then proactively give yourself the chance, the opportunity. Let's use another interpretation to that failure. Someone gets a rejection and says, I'm not good enough. This people rejected me. That means I'm not good enough. And based on that interpretation, you begin to attribute to yourself, it's a feeling of unworthiness. And so because of that feeling of unworthiness, if another opportunity comes up, the most prevalent thing that your mind has coded into it in interpreting that opportunity is that someone like you will not get into this opportunity. You're not good enough for this kind of opportunity. And what is the action you take based on that? You shy away from those opportunities. No, I'm shy. I can't talk in this kind of place. See the kind of people that are here. It's not people like me now. How can I stand up here and talk to these people? That kind of a thing. And what is the outcome? You keep repeating the same cycle of failure, mediocrity, smallness, and all of that because of a story you have told yourself based on a way you choose to interpret an experience. So let's come back to the power of words. Because words will become the building block on which we can begin to re-instruct our mind and restructure the interpretations that we give situations. And like I said yesterday, the foundational block for the changing of interpretation will be the identification you give yourself. You must deal with that, first of all, right? You must deal with a sense of self-sufficiency. And when I mean self-sufficiency, of course, you understand, I mean understanding the spirit that is at work in you and what that means, how it has elevated you beyond certain lies, certain existential lies, that you're no longer a victim, that you have a spirit of love and power and of a sound mind, that you have the wisdom of God, the wisdom of the ages, that you have the capacity to come up with solutions and ideas that give life, that creates order, that creates opportunities and possibilities, that you're not small. And it's not from the place of arrogance, from the place of the acknowledgement of the spirit that is at work in you. Isaiah chapter 60 says, arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of God is risen upon you. Here's the thing, we easily make these affirmations inside of church as affirmations, but we need to let our minds begin to receive those instructions, those codes as building blocks, so that you know deeply and you embrace deeply that consciousness and truth that the glory of God is risen upon you. Take a moment and think about that for a while, what it means that the glory of God is risen upon you, that the Spirit of God is resident in you. Scripture says that if the same Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead dwells in you, he will quicken your mortal bodies by that same Spirit. Question, I don't know about you guys, but I know that Spirit is in me. So there's a certain consciousness I carry with the way I live that makes me not agree to certain existential lies concerning myself, regardless of the physical expressions and manifestations. Now, let's go back to reality. What is the reality of who I am? I'm a city set on a hill that cannot be hidden. I'm the light of the world. I carry the Spirit of God. I'm a life-giving spirit. That is the reality of the life I live and the person that I am. Now, there are things in the future or that I'm working towards, even with all I can do now. See, the picture that we have in our mind is bigger than where we are. But does that negate that truth at this point in time? No. And here's the thing, it becomes a reinforcing loop, because once you carry that consciousness, you're living from that place in the way that you go through life, which means then that when opportunities come to be able to express that life, you step into it confidently with self-efficacy. Do you understand? But if you've taken an interpretation that has sown the seed of self-doubt and mediocrity and fear in you, the opportunities that arise where God is saying, arise and shine, You're looking at it and you're complaining with those in darkness. Forgive me. Isaiah chapter 60 that I just put there. It says, arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of God has risen upon you. It then goes on to say, for darkness will cover the earth and gross darkness the peoples, but the Lord will arise in you. Question: what does light do in darkness? It shines. What is the assignment that place is saying? It is saying, because the glory of the Lord is risen upon you, when darkness will cover the people and gross darkness the nations, your job is not to complain with them and be shouting, there is darkness all over the place. Your job is to arise. But if you have an interpretation and belief in your heart that has reinformed and instructed your mind that you do not have the capacity to shine as lights, you would go and crouch with them in darkness and be waiting for a savior when you are the savior that has been sent. Is somebody understanding what I'm saying today? That this mindset runs deep enough that while you're praying and crying for outcomes, God is looking at you saying, I've given you the resources to be able to move from experience to outcome. But you see, the interpretation and the belief you've subscribed to, they don't reflect what I've put in you. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? That the interpretations and the belief that you've subscribed to, they mean that the loop to get to the outcome that I have codified for you or that I have set in motion for you, you're not behaving like who you are. Why? Because you subscribe to mindset, interpretations, and beliefs that have halted the loop. There's a break in the loop. So your consistent behavior,
Check the gen. It's not supposed to be off in there.
ourselves. Your behavior is consistent with the dominant interpretations and beliefs that you subscribe to. So for you to break away from that behavior, you have to change the interpretations and the beliefs that you're subscribing to. So we're going to start with a very simple exercise. And that simple exercise is going to be a foundational exercise concerning the codification that we give ourselves, the words that we give ourselves. See, most beliefs that we subscribe to are invisible until we put them into words. I'll say that again. Most beliefs that we subscribe to, they are unconscious, they are invisible until we put them into words. There's a reason journaling is very important. I can spend some time talking about different approaches of journaling and their uses and how it helps to re-instruct your mind. But I want you, every one of us, we're going to do a very simple exercise. And you're doing this exercise for yourself. So I want you to be very honest with yourself. Very honest with yourself. Here is a simple statement. I am not good at dash. I'm going to give us the next 2 minutes to reflect. Think of everything that consciously or unconsciously over time you've constantly told yourself, I'm not good at, and I want you to write all of them out. We are starting the practical exercise now of these things. I want to be very honest with yourself, very honest with yourself. I'm not good at dash. Think of everything that you've told yourself constantly, habitually, I'm not good at. Write them out. Some of them may be valid. So don't think about the validity of it. Just think of everything that you've ever told yourself, I'm not good at this. I want you to write it down. I'm not good at this. I'm not good at speaking in public. No, you don't need to write it here. You can write, I want you to write it for yourself so that we can be very honest. Some of the things some of us may write may be sensitive to us or may be personal to us. I want you to be free about it. So let it be just you seeing it so you can be honest with yourself. I'm not good at dash. Everything that comes to mind for the next 2 minutes, write it. Everything that you've constantly told yourself. Write it down. The song that's coming to my mind is You Say. by Lauren Diago. You say by Lauren Diago. You can take note of that. Take some time to listen to it. One more minute. All right, if you're done, you can type done on the chat. Manasseh says network is frustrating at his end. Okay, I hope you'll be able to catch up with the recording. All right, I see Queen is done. I see Michelle is done. Oh, okay, lots of dons coming in. Juliet is done at the bio. Okay, beautiful. All right. Now, for everything that you've written there, I'm going to make a statement and I'm going to give you a few seconds to reflect on it. And then we're going to do some follow-up questions. And the statement I want to make is this: that oftentimes what we believe about ourselves is mostly a reflection of past interpretation, not current ability. I will say that again. The beliefs that the beliefs that most people hold about themselves in certain areas is often not an accurate reflection of ability. It's just a reflection of past interpretation. What that means is that there's a chance that if you look at everything you've written and ask yourself, why do you say you are not good at this? It most likely may not be because you don't have the capacity or the ability to learn that thing and become good at it. Because remember, capacity and ability is something that can grow. So when you say I'm not good at this, you're putting a full stop at the possibility to improve in whatever skill level you are in that thing. And it is often based on past interpretation. So focusing on past interpretation from an experience in the past that is related to whatever it is you've said you're not good at rather, has made you, your focus on that has meant that you've short-circuited the focus on the possibility that can come of putting in effort. So whatever it is you wrote, I want you to look at everything that you wrote and ask yourself, what is the validation I have that this thing I say I'm not good at, I can't be able to do it ever? I'm not good at public speaking. I'm not good at writing. I'm not good at singing. I'm not good at whatever it is. I'm not good at business. I'm not good at school, whatever it is. I'm not good at talking to people. For some guys, you hear things that I'm not good at talking to ladies. But there's a lady you've been eyeing. So maybe God has even just given you a hint. She's the one. I'm not good at talking to ladies, my friend. You have to learn to be good at it too. Don't let past interpretations hold you back from tomorrow. All right. Now, think about everything that you've written right now as I am not good at, and ask yourself, is it really that I cannot do this if I give it a chance? Or am I just anchored to a belief that was hinged or that is hinged to a past experience? Because you see, when you begin to challenge that thought I'm not good at. When you begin to challenge it, in the famous Adams worship, when you begin to challenge that thought, you begin to see that you've been wearing a lens that makes it difficult for you to see the full colors of life, the full colors of your life. And based on that lens, the interpretation and the beliefs that you subscribe to have led you into a constant, consistent behavior that withholds you from reaching out for more or doing more. So you're seeking new outcomes, but you're working with the same old operating system, with the same old interpretations, with the same old beliefs, and they are translating into a recurring repetition of the same pattern of behavior, which can never give you a new outcome. So if that is the case, the question I have for you then next is, how can you begin to change the story? How can I change the story I have around this thing I say I'm not good at? And I want you to take something that you said you're not good at that is necessary or vital to something you want to do or get. Right? Sometimes the statement is not I'm not good at. They are all different. There are different shades of that statement. Sometimes it could be people like me usually don't do this kind of thing, or people like me never get to this kind of place or this kind of position, or someone like me is not qualified to do this kind of thing. Sometimes it could be statements that even speak straight to the self-identification that if I fail at something, it means I am this. You know, the I am statement is a statement that puts an identity on you based on a challenge or a situation or a circumstance. I am poor is a statement that is putting an identity of poverty on you. No, you know, you may not have money now, you may be broke now, but don't put a label on yourself. So if I fail at this, that means I'm terrible at business. No, it means there's something about business, about running a business or building a business that I've not learned, I can learn. I need to learn. There's something I'm not doing well, something I need to pay attention to. It is not an identity label. So, what is the story that you need to change in that area to begin to get a new outcome? Think about the cognitive dissonance that we talked about. Now, we are going to do something. And before we start that, I'm going to talk a bit about environment, because this is very necessary for us to fully understand what we are going to do. When I think about environment, I consider environment and the designing of our environment a very vital discipline for everyone who wants to continue to build a life with a growth mindset, with intentionality. And when I think about environment, I think about the immersions of our mind, our heart, our body, and our faculties. What are the things that we constantly allow to create an atmosphere around ourselves, whether it be mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, and all of that? And environments are very key, very important, because the environment determines the growth of the seed. Determines the growth of the seed. And understanding the seed of your destiny and the seed of the life you're trying to create requires then that you intentionally curate an environment that reinforces the story and the identification that continues to keep you in line with the fulfillment of that reality that you have conceived. I'll give you an example. Many of us, may have had instructions, prophecies, or even people telling you have a very great future, you have a great destiny, and all of that. But when you sit down right now, honestly, to curate the environment you have created around your life, you see that they are killing that seed. And by environment, I mean the things we listen to, the conversations we have, the things we observe and watch consciously, and sometimes unconsciously, the people we surround ourselves with, the media we consume, the discipline of our attention, especially with digital devices. All of these make up the environment we're creating for our lives. The friends, the company you keep, the immersions. That's why I'm using the word immersions. The immersions. Let me give you guys an example. Did you know that the entire science around, I don't know how many of you have heard of the word binaural beats, Binaural, and all of that. The entire science around all of that is that anatomically speaking and psychologically speaking, with brain studies and all of that, there are certain sounds and frequencies. This is not Eastern religion. This is science. There are certain sounds and frequencies that set certain moods and predispositions in the hearts and minds of people. I hope you know that. There's a reason why certain music make you feel certain ways, even when you don't know the words. Some of us have listened to some sounds that are played by Korean musicians, Chinese musicians, and all of that, and it still creates an emotion. It's like a universal language to the brain, even without words, because it creates a certain setting that predisposes your mind to a certain mood or emotion or perception. In the same way, words and the things that we see and constantly consume begin to create an environment around whatever instructions or whatever ideas and plans and visions we say we have for our lives. I'll go back to Matthew 6:22. The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eye be single, if your eye be focused, your whole body will be full of light. One of the greatest reasons why people get confused about what should I do, how should I go about this, is that we are pulled on all sides by different things and different media. And curating your environment will require you to discipline your attention. Simple exercise you can do without going into much teaching, because I want us to do some work. Simple exercise you can do for yourself. I'm going to give us two things that you can do. And it's going to span 1 week, so you may not be able to give me feedback. You can give yourselves feedback in your groups. Thank God today is Friday. You can start by Monday. On my phone, I set one of my screens on my phone. I set dashboards. I set dashboards to track my screen activity on a daily basis. I started this sometime last year, so that because I wanted to cut down on certain unnecessary screen time. So I set dashboard. Literally, when I open my phone, I'm seeing I spend this amount of time on this and all of that. The reason I did that was I wanted to curate my social media consumption. I wanted to create my attention discipline. See, a lot of us say, oh, I'm so busy. I have work to do. I have this to do and all of that. I don't have time and all of that. I hear you. I hear you. For the next 7 days, I believe this is on every Android phone and even iPhone. If you go to your settings, you can, every Android phone has it. You can check on Google how you can do that for your phone. But there are settings where you can track how much time you spend on an app in a day. If I let's do this exercise here in class, and I want us to be very honest, for the next 5 minutes, let's do this exercise in class. Can you go to your settings? Okay, let me start with how many of us know how to be able to check this on your phone? Let's start with this. Don't worry, I'm not going to tell you to tell us how much time you spent on this, but I'm going to ask you a question that you will be free to answer. Don't worry. But how many of us know how to check this on our phone, to check how much time you spent on certain devices? Okay, I see Mide. Okay, I see Adebayo. I see Emi. Okay, who else? 3 persons only. Only 3. Some people don't want to say, I know how to do it now. All right, beautiful. All right, now, every one of us who can, let's do this. If you can't, after the session, go and try and check it. I want you to go to that setting. Go to that setting on your phone right now. I want you to take note of how much time you spent today on every social media platform or many of the things. For some people, it may be LinkedIn. Okay, yeah, digital well-being on Android. Thank you, Nolua. It may be LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram. Just take note of all of them. Write them down. Just do that. We're going to do it in the next 3 minutes, next 3 to 5 minutes. Write them down. And as you do that, I'm going to ask you 2 simple questions. Okay, let me give 1 minute for us. If you've seen it and you've taken note of the amount of time on each of them, just write done. You can go to your settings if you're using any phone. Go to your settings, look for digital well-being. You should be able to see for each app the amount of time you spent for the day. So I'm seeing a lot of us doing done. Okay, beautiful. So by done, I'm assuming that you've taken note of the amount of time you spent on each of them for today. Beautiful. First question. Did you wake up this morning consciously intending to spend that amount of time on that particular platform? Honest. Beautiful. Thank you for your honesty, everyone. Second question. How much of the time you spent on all of these platforms was consciously targeted at an area you intentionally woke up this today or this week and say you want to grow in? Give me a rough estimate. 5%, 10%, 50%, 100%. Honest. This is a good session, right? Self-evaluation, honest self-evaluation. How much? Okay. Hussein says 60%, beautiful. Juliet says 10%, beautiful. Every one of us that said done, I want to see our responses. I said, how much of the time you spent on all of those platforms was used doing something that you intentionally woke up today or this week and say, I want to grow in this area? How much of it? Okay. Lola says for some apps like LinkedIn, okay. But generally speaking, cumulatively for all of them, I will have very serious people here. I'm seeing 55%, 60%, 70%. I hope you guys have been very honest with yourself. But if that's the case, that's beautiful. Okay. Now, I want you to note as we write out all of this, I want you to note how that in doing just these 2 simple evaluations, we are realizing how our attention can easily be drawn to things that are irrelevant to what we say we are pursuing or what we say we want to make out of our lives, the outcomes we say we want to have. What has that got to do with environment? The last question I'll ask you, you're not going to answer here, is for reflection beyond yourself. If you continue to live every week with the same way you're living this week regarding your attention, the things you're spending your time on, the people you're listening to, the conversations you're having, where you're expending your emotional energy, if the way you spent this week regarding those areas were to be used as a standard way you must live for the next 1 year, by the end of the year, would you have achieved or accomplished or gotten to the end of the things you say you want to do and become by the end of the year, the goals that you say you want to achieve, the things you say you want to do? This is Growth Mentorship Program. All right. So I believe at this point that you guys have touched on things regarding like being intentional about setting your goals and creating a life of meaning and impact and all of that. So if you were to spend every week for the rest of this year, the way you spent this week, expending the kind of emotional energy you expended in the different areas of life, giving your attention to the things you gave today and this week, would you be confident to say at the end of the year that you would have achieved the things that you want? Thank you, Nifemi. Lola says that, yes, and I thank God for that. Okay, absolutely, yes. And so I'm seeing combinations of yes and no and partially. And I like that we're being very honest about this. Now, what that goes to tell us is simple, that it is easy for us to have a seed, and because we don't understand the gravity of curating environments, that seed can die because intentionally or not, consciously or not, we're exposing that seed to environments that are killing the seed rather than nurturing the seed. So, how can you curate your environment? Number one, take some time to redefine the purposes of everything that you use in your life. And ask yourself, how does this serve the life I'm creating? How does this serve the life I'm creating? And a good place to start is digital devices. I did something last year after I read the book Digital Minimalism. I've forgotten who wrote it. I can't remember. I think it's called, was it called Newport? I can't remember now. But go search for the book Digital Minimalism. I read the book and I did something last year. I brought on my phone. I uninstalled every single app on my phone at some point. Before I uninstalled them, I took inventory of all of them. I uninstalled them. And I started afresh to ask myself, which of them do I really need? Which of them am I really using? What is the purpose each one is serving to me? By the time I finished that, I had eliminated, without exaggeration, I had eliminated about over 40% of the apps I had on my phone. And then I had to change my relationship with my device and those apps. So what that means is, I think I mentioned this day, that of course I give myself time to sorry for entertainment, to check things on social media platforms. One moment, please, guys. Right, so I give myself time for all of this, but I constantly find myself asking myself, I mean, literally sometimes I'm checking something on YouTube and I get sidetracked, I get distracted. I say watching this and watching that. And then sometimes I just catch myself saying, Chimezie, what are you doing here? And it's me reminding myself, what exactly are you doing here? Like, really? And when I say this, I'm not saying that I'm watching any harmful or any stupid content, but maybe this is a place to talk about distraction and traction. I'm not saying I'm watching any harmful, but I'm asking myself, this thing I'm spending time on now, is it what I should be doing with this time? Is it serving what I'm trying to accomplish right now in this season, in this time, in this moment? Because sometimes seemingly helpful things can become the biggest distractions. And so you have to curate your environment intentionally to channel you always to the fulfillment and the accomplishment of the things that are important to you. Now, how does this feed into growth mindset? Very simple. That if I must change the interpretations and the beliefs that form the behavior that lead to my outcome, I must ask myself, what are the channels that are reinforcing and feeding that interpretation? What kind of new interpretations do I want to begin to give to my life, to situations? How do I want to show up in life? What are the outcomes I want? And what are the things that can feed the instructing of my mind in the direction of that. So it will mean that you would have to be very careful with the music that you listen to. You have to be very careful with the movies that you watch. You have to be very careful with the conversations that you engage in. And see, the conversation part is very necessary, very important, because sometimes we are stuck with trying to put up with conversations with people out of loyalty to the friendships or the associations we have with them, even though we know that those conversations and those interactions are killing the dreams and the seeds that we are trying to build. And we must learn to grow the courage, to step away from environments that are killing the seeds of your life, environments that are stifling the seeds that you're trying to nurture. And this is not about arrogance, it's about self-evaluation and accounting for what is required to ensure that this seed grows into the fullness of the tree it is supposed to become. So you must intentionally, on an ongoing basis, create an environment that continually feeds your thoughts and your mind with the new instructions that will begin to create new beliefs and stories for the outcomes that you want. See, in the same environment where some people are saying men has come, where some people are saying women are wicked, in the same environment, people are connecting with powerful and intentional men and women whose associations and collaborations with them are magnifying and amplifying the visions that they're building in the same environment that people are saying men has come. And so the question sometimes when I hear things like that, I'm like, well, where are you people looking? Because you do realize in life that where you are looking is as important as what you're looking for. If you're writing, you can write this down. The way you're looking is as important as what you're looking for. This is why environments are important. Very important. Where you are looking, or what places are you immersing yourself? The outcomes you're looking for, can you find people who have gone ahead there and begin to make them the normal environments? Can you find communities where the accomplishment of that thing is a normal for them? Can you immerse yourself with contents, words, things that are constantly reinforcing that thing that you see is the outcome that you want? Because faith comes by hearing and hearing the word. So you must guard your heart with all diligence. And guarding your heart with all diligence doesn't mean setting something on top of your chest. It means guarding the channels through which words and thoughts filter into your heart. What are those channels? Your ears, your eyes, your mouth. That I can choose to constantly. Sometimes I speak to myself in front of the mirror. Sometimes when I speak to myself, like I speak to myself, whether it's in the place of prayer or just talking to myself. Sometimes I'm reflecting on thoughts, and when I'm done with them, I'm like, God, thank you for the intelligent spirit you've put in me. Sometimes I'm so glad for the Spirit of God at work in me. I'm like, wow. Thank you for the kind of mind you've given me, God. Thank you because I have a sound mind. I have a sound mind. I tell it to myself. Validation from other people is wonderful, but we must learn to take the reality of the truth that is eternal and let that structure our sense of validation and identity. And the reinforcement of that has to come from the environments that we immerse ourselves in. Who are you working with? Scripture says in the book of Proverbs that the companion of fools will go to ruin, but he who walks with the wise shall become wise. The environment we immerse ourselves in matter. There's a reason the platforms and forums like this NACOB Capacity Development Center is such a beautiful initiative, because for the amount of time you're going to be, how many weeks are we doing this, Mr. Nick? How many weeks is it? How many weeks? 12, 16? 6 months. Beautiful. Imagine being immersed for 6 months in a community where the normal conversations and the constant exposure is things that are challenging your mind to become the best version of yourself. You cannot be the same person that came into the community if you follow it intentionally. And that must be the way you carry on with the rest of your life. You must be careful about your emotions. Careful. Careful about the people you enter constant conversations with. Careful about the conversations you have. Careful about the things you expose yourself to. You must build the self-leadership in yourself to be able to set yourself about filling yourself with the things that edify the purpose on your life. Immersion. Immerse yourself fully in environments that nurture the seed in you. That's the foundation on which the transformation of your mindset will begin to happen. It will begin to happen on that ground. Immerse yourself fully. Change the instructions you give your mind. See, if you constantly talk yourself down when you make mistakes, change that. At first, it may seem mechanical and it may be so difficult for you because you're not used to it. Continue. Replace every negative self-talk with reinforcing statements of truth, and continue to do that until your mind becomes comfortable with receiving that about itself and working with that as the normal way it sees you, the normal way you see yourself. All right. That's how we begin to change our environment. That's how we begin to change our environment. Any change that doesn't start from the inside will struggle to sustain it on the outside. So you see, as valid as the childhood experiences that we had and maybe scarred us, and so we're now beginning to see life in that way, the experience may be valid, but holding on to that interpretation is not valid. It's not a justification. The experience may be valid, but why are you holding on to the interpretation? How is it serving you? If you need a different outcome, you must go and challenge that interpretation. You must go and challenge that interpretation. Right? The repeated patterns we've been used to, we may validate why this is the reason why I did this. I hear you, and that's valid, but must you hold on to it? Must you hold on to it? Yes, I will. Thank you, Taiwo. If we are good with that, I will. I'll give some more time for that. All right. So I'm about wrapping up for tonight. Tomorrow is going to be full workshop. So I'm trying to just touch on the things that are teachings. Tomorrow we're going to do full workshop. If we are open to that, I will stay as long as we need to attend to some of the questions. All right. Now, as I begin to close this session so we can give room for questions and unpack a lot more from the questions, I want you to remember this, that your mind is a garden. Your mind is a garden. Your mind is a garden. And the things that grow in that, oh, sorry. The things that grow in that garden are your responsibility. The beliefs that we hold on to are like seeds that we plant in our minds. When you begin to hold on to the things, to beliefs like, I'm not cut out for this, you're planting a seed in that garden. When you begin to hold on to beliefs like, I'm not good enough, you're planting a seed in that garden. And every belief I allow to continue to fester and become a stronghold in my mind is a seed that I'm letting to grow into a mighty tree. And the mighty trees in the garden will become the definition of that garden. So if I want to change the definition of the garden, I have to plant new seeds and find ways to uproot those old trees. I need to find ways to begin to replace I am not good enough to I am worthy. To replace I can't do this to I can learn to do this, I can adapt. Right? Begin to plant new seeds in your mind. New seeds. Plant new seeds in your mind. Let your mind begin to be instructed by newness, by new thoughts, by new immersions, by new experiences. Change the instruction you're giving to your mind. Change the environment that you're immersed in. And allow yourself to begin to write new stories. The new stories will change your mindset from a limited, fear-ridden, mediocre, excuse-embracing mindset to a growth mindset that is full of liberty and love and power and soundness. That's how we begin to transform our mindsets. All right, before we go into questions, I'll just quickly give us 4 scenarios that represent the 4 battlegrounds of mindsets, and then we'll look at questions. I know my time is almost up, so I'll go through this very quickly. I actually want to pull up my slide concerning this so we can just quickly go through it. All right. Sorry. If we can confirm that we can see my slide, that would be beautiful.
Yes, we can see it, sir.
All right. So I said that mindset is often not seen in ease. It is often seen in chaos and struggles. And there are 4 areas that we can x-ray our mindsets. Number 1 is in struggle. And this is often where the negative self-talk about ourselves can hold sway. In struggle, how we define struggle would determine the kind of mindset we're embracing, right? Difficult things are not a sign to stop. It's a growth signal. It's a sign to build capacity, to grow capacity, to stretch. And if we let ourselves tell ourselves the story that this is an opportunity to grow, as uncomfortable as the stretching would be, who it produces on the other side is a superior version of yourself. Every person I have studied, how they rose to where they rose, it is often in the seasons where it was hard and they had to stretch that they built capacity that sustained that phase and beyond. So if we begin to look at struggles and challenges as opportunities for growth, that's an interpretation that we're giving. And it often will fund the belief that this is an opportunity for me to grow. I can grow through this. And what that means is that we'll become more open to going through the struggle and the challenge to come out on the other side. All right? The second aspect is failure. And what I say there, that rejection is not a verdict, it's information. I mean, I've talked about that a lot with the rejection, with a job or whatever it is, whether it's a proposal you sent, even a failure in trying something. You can choose to say that you're not good enough as interpretation, and that will hold you back from growing through failure. Or you can choose to ask yourself, what can I learn from this failure so that I can do better the next time this comes up? So failure then becomes data and feedback that helps us to grow beyond where we are. The third one is in feedback. Feedback is one of the most difficult things to receive if you have a fixed mindset. One of the most difficult things. Growth mindset separates my identity from my action, so that if I receive a feedback, I can x-ray that feedback on the grounds of information that can help me grow. This can refine me. This can improve me. This can help me become a better version of myself, as against thinking this is an attack on me. Even feedback, if we struggle to receive feedback, it's often an indication that we are equating the information about the action or the situation to our identity, ourselves. And if that is the mindset with which we approach feedback, we would struggle to get the benefits of feedback, to get the data that can help us become better. And so oftentimes in feedback, we can often x-ray whether we are having a fixed mindset in that particular circumstance or situation, or growth mindsets. There are certain things that it is easier for you to receive feedback, and there are certain things that it is not. In those areas that you struggle to receive feedback, you need to do a check and ask yourself, in what ways am I equating feedback here to my person, to myself? And sometimes you may need to treat that in the context of who the feedback is coming from. Because in certain situations, there are people that you can easily receive feedback from, and you find it easier to receive it as feedback. And there's some other people you can receive it as, and you begin to see it as an attack. And you may not get the benefit of that feedback. So also need to x-ray how we receive feedback. And lastly is in comparison. See, the moment you descend into living a life where you're constantly looking around at other people and trying to use their, in quotes, progress to judge yourself, you're entering into a rabbit hole that you struggle to come out. And that rabbit hole would make it difficult for you to fully immerse yourself in the requirements of your own story, because you're trying to judge your life and your story by the story of another person. Do you understand? Live a life that focuses on your journey. You can learn from people, you can celebrate them even while you're still building. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? You can derive joy in helping others build and grow while you're still figuring it out, knowing. See, the Spirit of God is the Spirit of abundance. There is no amount, no heights anyone ascends to in this life that will diminish what God is trying to do in my own life, or with my life, or through my life. And so in any way that I can help another person build, even if it's in seasons where I'm trying to figure out, I take joy and I delight in doing that. Because we all are collectively building a story on the earth. We all are collectively contributing our quota. The things that my life has been ordained to do would never be diminished in any way by the growth or the success of anyone here or outside of here. So in any way that I can, I see that as part of shining the light. Again, it comes back to identification. Light does not shrink. Light does not struggle to fight darkness. Light shines. And light shines to everybody that comes into its space. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So whoever it is, remove your thoughts from that comparison and focus on what has my life been called to do and how can I grow. And sometimes it is in celebrating and even assisting the visions and the dreams of other people that you can begin to find greater meaning and greater sense of clarity with what you see. A lot of the things that I'm now doing in my personal practice were built in helping others build. As I speak to you now, with all of the things I do, there are at least 5 brands and businesses that in one capacity or the other, I'm involved in building their vision in one capacity or the other. And in every way that I can help, I carry those things as if they were mine. Because the markings of God's Spirit at work in me show forth as excellence, regardless of who I'm serving. Doesn't have to be my vision, doesn't have to be my goal, doesn't have to be my own dream. I will show forth with excellence. I told you guys, the moment Nick notified me last year that I was going to be here, I started preparing for it. Prayerfully study, research, and all of that. Because I wanted to show in my best essence and elements and deliver what I'm supposed to deliver. It doesn't have to be my platform. It doesn't have to be your platform. Quit comparison. Quit comparison. Build and do what God has called you to do. All right? Quit comparison. So I'm going to stop sharing here. Sorry. I'm going to stop here, and tomorrow we'll pick up with the rest of the workshop, the practical activities we're going to do. At this point, I will step back and let us ask questions from any of the things I've said so far. Damilola, Taiwo, over to you guys. Let me know how many questions you'd like me to answer.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. The session was absolutely amazing. And I'm sure that because some people send me their notes and it's very, very powerful. Yeah. So very quickly, let's go into the question. And this is 10:06 here, which is 11:06 at his end. And so we don't want his wife to come and arrest us here. So
Yes.
we will just take 3 questions tonight. So guys, 3 questions tonight. You can write your questions down. Tomorrow we will take the rest. So checking the chat box. If you have questions, please put it here and I'm going to read it. And if you are in a quiet place, you would like to talk, just raise your hand and we will call you. Okay, I'm still saying thank you, sir. Okay. Okay, so I just saw a question. Okay, let me read this first one. It says, sir, what if the prophecy you received is hindering you from doing something that's part of your path to success? Did you get that, sir?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Sir.
What if the prophecy is something that is hindering you from doing something that's part of your path to success? Here's the thing: there's no discordance with God. There's no negation with God in the way He works. The challenge with us, oftentimes as humans, is see, we are working from a limited plane. I'm answering this both as a coach and from a spiritual point of view because we're talking about prophecy. We're working from a limited plane, and oftentimes, because we're working from the construct of time, we assume that something given now is going to manifest now. I had said yesterday that oftentimes the version of you that receives an instruction or a prophecy is not the version that eventually comes into the fulfillment of that prophecy. Look through scriptures, Old Testament, New Testament, you would see it was never the case that, especially with prophecies that require an impact that is way beyond yourself, that have national and transgenerational ramifications, whether it's Joseph, whether it's David, and all. The version of Joseph that received the dream had to be betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, work under Potiphar's house, be loyal and faithful, and still be set up and lied against, and be sent to the prison. And while he was in the prison, he still remained faithful. And when he remained faithful and told the interpretation of dreams, the person went to the palace and forgot him until such a time as the Lord had ordained. That man remembered. And here is the thing. The dream that Joseph had that he told his brothers that stoked jealousy, that the sun and the moon and the stars were going to bow to him. As at the time he received that dream, pay attention, the construct of his mind and his mindset was limited to his father's house and his village people. So his interpretation of the dream was that his parents and his siblings were going to bow before him. But the vision that God gave him was of a global ramification. Egypt was the most powerful nation at the time. And in the fulfillment of that vision, he eventually became the second most powerful man on the earth at the time. But the process it took between when he got that to here was not palatable. If you were to cut short the story of Joseph at the point where he was in prison, that was the place it ended, you call his life a failure. But sometimes or what is in the process doesn't exactly look like the fulfillment of the prophecy. So back to your question, what if the prophecy received is hindering you from doing something that's part of your path to success? Number one, what is your definition of your path to success? If you are clear about what it is, sometimes God can give you a prophecy for an appointed time, but still set you on a path that doesn't look like it's leading there. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? David got anointed as king. He didn't ascend into the throne. Some theologians said it took, I can't remember how many now, close to 20 years, I mean, something like that, between when he was anointed by Samuel and when he eventually ascended into the throne. Think about that for a moment. From getting anointed, he went back to tending to sheep. That doesn't look like it was preparation for the prophecy. And then he went into, and the way one of my friends put it, he went back to tending to sheep and he was writing poems because literally many of the Psalms we read is like David writing poems to God. It didn't look like kingly preparation, but he stayed the course. All right. So here's the thing. We must not limit the fulfillment of God's prophecy to a timeline, thinking that because you received the prophecy now, it means it's going to happen now. Some prophecies some of us receive may happen in the next 10, 15, 20 years. Some prophecies you receive, the fulfillment of them will be after you're dead. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? But you must continue to stay the course where you're going. Sometimes staying the course doesn't look like the prophecy. So be not in a haste to, by your own hands, fulfill the prophecy that was received by the divine intervention of God, by the Spirit of God. He has given the prophecy, stay on course wherever He has planted you in that moment and just continue to build and grow. He would align the course, He would make lines to fall onto you in places. And sometimes, what is the adequate preparation for where He's taking you may not look like where He's taking you. It may not look like it, but stay the course. If you know that truly that what you're doing right now is part of your preparation or your practice, so just stay there. Stay there and continue there. The prophecy that was given, when the fullness of the time will come, it will happen. Do you understand? So don't stress yourself with trying to. The truth is that oftentimes you not fully grasp the full extent and the specifics of what the prophecy over your life will require. But whatever you are sure at times, stay on the course until God Himself directs you or instructs you on the way to go. Don't try to create the way to go by yourself. Just align yourself with the demands and the consequences of the time, of the season you are in. If in this season, the last instruction He gave you was for you to stay in the place of prayer, or for you to read a certain set of books, or for you to come under the mentorship or grooming of a certain person, stay the course, continue there. It might be there you receive the prophecy, continue there until such a time as you're certain about what's the next trajectory. Then you take that. The prophecy would fulfill itself in the fullness of its time. All right.
Thank you so much, sir. Yes, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, sir. So we have this question from Adebayo Daniel. He said, I'm into writing, sir. How do I properly go ahead with it and grow in this skill? I'm in the place of conception. So how do I properly bring it to life practically, sir?
Okay. Sorry, Daniel. Is it okay with you if I have a bit of a live conversation with you here? Just a series of questions. Okay. Can we unmute him?
Okay, sir. You can unmute Daniel. Daniel, unmute.
Okay. If you can't unmute, let me just go ahead with. I'll make it advice and recommendations. I wanted to ask him some clarifying questions so that likely even right now you can get the clarity. So you say you're into writing. How do you properly go ahead with it and grow in the skill? And you said you're in the place of conception. So how do you properly bring it to life practically? The first thing I wanted to ask you is when you say writing, what kind of writing? Right? And when you can clarify what kind of writing, to whom are you writing? Oftentimes we run into the trap, especially in creative arts, to create things based on our passion and all of that. It's wonderful, it's beautiful. But if you're going to write as a career that you want, because you're asking how to bring it to life practically and grow in it, you must clarify to whom you're writing. And once you clarify that, one of the things I always do.
I'm sorry, sir. I wasn't there. Like I got logged out for some reason. I can just hear you now.
Okay, all right. So
Yeah.
just listen to me. Let me just give you some recommendations. The first thing I was saying was you need to clarify what type of writing are you into? What type of writing do you want to grow into? Right? It's one thing to start in an aspect of writing, but if you think about yourself in the next 15, 20 years as a writer, what kind of writer are you seeing? And to whom are you writing? Is it fiction? Is it nonfiction? If it's nonfiction, is it writing that is targeted at business, life, career, relationships, or all of that together? You need to clarify that. You may not have the specifics of them, but you have a sense of the kind of writer you want to be and who you want to write to. And once you've clarified that, one of the things I practically do in any area I find that I want to begin to grow is I go and ask myself, who are the top 3 to 5% in this area globally? Globally, and not just looking at Nigeria, globally, right? Because I want to be able to learn from what sets them apart from other people and see how I can grow from there. Literally, the moment I realized that I had an interest in doing this coaching, mentoring, teaching, and training people, there are certain persons I started understanding, learning from them, reading their books, watching their videos, and all of that. Quite a number of them. That is also part of what we talk about environment, immersion, right? Identify 3 to 5% who are the top in the area you're building. Begin to learn from them. Begin to learn from them. As a matter of fact, while you're doing that, if in any aspect or area of your industry you find opportunities where you can volunteer service just to be able to come close and learn from someone in that field that you consider an authority. Give yourself that chance. 2017, 2017, I entered into a mentorship primarily because I wanted to understudy the man and learn from him. I eventually ended up working with him and building businesses, products, and ideas with him and all of that. And I still work with him till today in the midst of all that I do, Mr. Tekena Ikoko. All right. The primary reason I joined the mentorship, yes, I wanted to get clarity and direction for myself, but I also identified that this is someone I can learn from the things he's doing and how he's doing them. Right. And in the midst of all of that, I was also reading the books of global examples of those things, the John Maxwell's, the John C. Maxwell, Tony Robbins, even those who are long gone, the Jim Rons, the Miles Monroes, and all of that, reading their books and observing, watching their YouTube videos, observing how they do what they do. I remember at some point even taking some videos of Brian Tracy. I watched the way he taught and everything and all of that, and then I would stand and try to practice doing that and talking, like teaching the way he taught and all of that. And I started picking some of the nuances and some of the principles I was noticing amongst all of them. So it again goes down to that immersion. Understand the kind of writer you want to be, who you want to write to, find the people who have gone ahead, who mirrored that thing, see what you can learn from them. And then at the end of the day, it all comes down to practicing. Practice, practice, practice. And in this day and age, the advice I'm about to give you is one of the priority advice I've given myself this year. I'm setting about doing is put your work out. Put your work out. Early this year, I called a friend of mine. I told him I wanted to pay him to guide me, like coach me, hold me accountable in that area because it's very good in that sort of thing. Put your work out. Get a blog, any platform, Substack. A lot of people are writing on Substack and growing followerships and all of that. Whether it's on Substack, start your own blog, Medium, and all of those things. Write and write. Don't be afraid to start where you are and let people see you grow, but let it build credibility for you also, especially if it's something you want to do professionally. Put your work out there. All right. I
Yes,
hope
sir.
that helps. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank you
very
so
much,
much, sir.
sir. Okay, I said 3 questions. So Juliet said she wants to unmute and ask. Do I get permission from you, sir?
Yes, yes.
All right, Juliet, and this is the last question we are taking for tonight. Juliet, if you are here, kindly unmute and quickly ask the question.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm really grateful. I enjoyed every bit of the teaching. Okay, so my question is about comparison. So I had some group of friends. Like we literally grew up together, and at a point we had a rough path. And right now they are doing very well in their life. Not very, very well. I actually like it for them. I love it for them. But somehow I kind of noticed that sometimes I kind of try to compare myself where I am now with where they are. And I noticed that sometimes my drive to even want to be better comes from that angle. And even though I don't want to like compare myself, I have noticed a pattern and I really want to change it. I don't want that to be an inspiration. I don't want that to be an inspiration for me. You understand, sir? So I don't know if you have like books, podcasts, teaching, or anything you can tell me to shift my mindset from that part. It's not like it happens constantly, and it's not like it's a bitter feeling, but I just find myself having that conversation sometimes. Like, I wish I can be like this too. I don't know if you understand, but then that's what's happening, and I really want a shift. Like, I'm tired.
Okay.
I'm tired, so thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you for asking, Juliet. The first thing I will say is the first thing you want to do is not even books or podcasts and all of that. The first thing you want to do is internal. What I'll recommend first is, and I want to say first of all that occasionally it's a normal human experience that occasionally sometimes you could find the thoughts, float over your mind or come to your mind that, oh, this person is doing this and that, I could be doing that, and the idea of thoughts of comparison coming to your mind in and of themselves doesn't make you a bad person, or it doesn't mean you have low self-esteem. All right. It is allowing those thoughts to now settle and become the driver and all. That said, it's also important to note that there is nothing wrong in being inspired by people and all. But if it has come to a point where you're noticing that it's becoming comparison, the first thing to do is to go back into yourself and anchor yourself. Anchor yourself on truth, anchor yourself on worth, and begin to create a consciousness of your personal journey. One of the things I said this yesterday, one of the things I use as an anchor for myself, it's right at my workspace in the house here. I framed it. It's a question I ask myself on an ongoing basis. Who are you becoming today? Here's a solid principle in life that if we can, every one of us, if we can apply ourselves to beginning every day, putting in the work to do what is required of us to the best of our abilities and our essence, and staying on course on that path. In other words, if we can learn to give the best of ourselves to the best of our pursuits in the best possible way that we can, at the end of each day, you're creating a superior version of yourself. You're building and growing. That in and of itself should become a constant celebration. And I need you to do this that at the end of each day, like start with determining and deciding for yourself, like what kind of life do you want? Are you trying to build and create? What are you trying to work towards? Whether it's a career, whether it's a vision and all of that life you're trying to create. Solidify that and clarify that. If you need to create a frame or a vision board for it, and let your heart be focused, let your eyes be single. At the end of each day, find something to be grateful for. See, gratitude is an antidote to comparison. Find something to be grateful for. How did I grow today? How was I able to bring value to life and to other people? If I helped someone today, if I lived true to the person I say I want to be, at the end of each day, I'm happy. Because what is happening is that while we look at purpose as an expanded construct and concept like a long-term vision, there's also the aspect of purpose that is an ongoing daily expression of our lives. And as long as we fulfill that daily, things will eventually accumulate. And if I can follow life like that, and at the end of each day, thank God for the gift of the life He gave me, and that I was able to invest the talents He gave me. See the parable of the talent? I was able to invest the life He gave me in the most meaningful of ways. I am grateful. I am grateful. Whatever may be happening in the lives of other people, I can get inspired from them. I can learn from them. And I learn a lot from people. I learn from my friends. I learn from people who are younger than me. I learn from people who I have taught before. Right? So you can learn and be inspired by them. But never let your heart go to the place where you are trying to take the construct of their life and story and begin to measure your own life with it. You are doing both yourself and them a disservice because you're dishonoring the peculiar story of your own life. See, if everybody that we look at and see what they do, if they live their life in such a way that they were trying to be somebody else, they wouldn't have created the story that you now are looking at and being inspired. So your own story and your own life is worth building and worth being grateful for. Always remember that your own story, your own life is worth building and worth being grateful for. And if you show up at the end of each day with that consciousness, at the end of every day, be grateful. See, one of my gratitudes at the end of today is I've been able to impact your lives today. This week, one of my gratitudes is I've been able to impact this. We were 80 persons at the beginning. To someone, it will be like just 80 persons. This week, I've reached 1,000 persons. I've reached 100,000 persons. That's fine and good, and I'm very happy for you. But every single life who is here is worth the time I've given to them. And I'm grateful for that. Because he who is faithful over little shall more be committed to. So show up in your best possible self, even in that's your story, that's your life that you may think is not as amazing, as wonderful. Give it your best, give it your all. As you continue to do that on an ongoing basis, life naturally will reward your consistency and your faithfulness with the right opportunities and the right time. And you will be prepared for it because you've committed and applied yourself fully to the fulfillment of that, even in the small quarters and small corners. David had to be devoted to taking back his father's sheep from a lion and a cub for him to have the confidence to look at a 9-foot soldier that trained and veteran soldiers were afraid of and say, a lion has come and taken my father's sheep. I took it back. A bear. Who is this uncircumcised for this time? I'll go and fight him, right? The things that he was doing in quiet, unheralded corners were preparations for open battles that he didn't know was ahead of him. But if while he was looking after his father's sheep, he said, the ones, my brothers that celebrated are seen, that they're outside, they're fighting, and people are celebrating them with songs every day. And I'm sent into the bush to come and stay with sheep. Oh, daddy, lion carried your sheep today. Oh. Tomorrow, daddy, bear carried your sheep today. Oh. There'll be no track record in his heart. When he would have gone to that field and seen Goliath. They say, oh, who is this? They say it's Goliath. He'll not say, oh, you should go and fight him. That was my business. He will go back. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? That faithfulness in the little things would often prepare you even for greater battles ahead that you're not aware of it. But you must commit yourself fully to your story and to the life that God is building in you, every other thing eventually would align. Is that okay, Juliet?
Thank
All
you
right.
so much, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you,
sir. God
Romy.
bless
Sorry.
you. This is almost midnight over
Yep.
there. We are
Yep.
really
We need to
grateful.
run.
Yes, thank you so much. Really appreciate you. God bless you. Thank you guys for staying till this time. Well done. I don't know if I should be saying thank you, but well done for staying till this time. Yeah, and so this is where we wrap up and we say good night. See you guys tomorrow.